before the camera starts, Chrissy goes, "Hello," and it
Hey,
has 3, 2, 1 still going.
I
Then she goes, "Ah,
was
shit."
I was just excited to say hi.
Well, welcome back to Traveling Businessman. I have Chrissy, future owner of the Nook that is coming hopefully sometime next year. It will probably come sometime next year. She'll figure out a way. There's a lot of people still from our hometown asking for their soaps and soon for their soup kitchen. And you need to get on your grind. You need to
Yeah,
get those orders out. Because
yeah.
my mom has 3 orders already.
I know she did. She had orders before when I was telling her about it.
Make sure your mic is up to your mouth. There you go. I have to start doing that now. I mean, you saw the podcast I had with Golden Lee's,
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I have to tell people
That's
because
true.
I was too shy. I didn't
Oh,
want to tell them, "Hey, pull your mic up." Nah, you got to pull your mic up
gotta
where
pull
no
your
one
mic
can
up.
hear you. Cause I got that setting set where you don't hear those sounds,
Right, right,
so
right.
you got to speak up.
I got you.
But if you're wondering why, because we got a few viewers now. We got
Oh,
yeah.
we have regulars.
We got some
Hello.
regulars, you know what I'm saying? We got a few thousand on Facebook that
Okay.
watch. But just like if Chris is watching, did not abandon you. Uh, we had 3 people quit
Yeah.
the podcast. 2 of them didn't even show their face on the podcast. Didn't even make it. Young Haley is pregnant.
Bro, you can't put that information out
Why not?
because it's not your information to put out.
Well, it's too late now. She's pregnant and she's 7 months along, so she's no longer on the podcast of her own doing. So we had 3 people quit. Guy named Larry, guy named Ryan. Those people quit. Said they didn't have the time, even though I asked them beforehand, "Hey, you have time to film on the weekends?" They said no. They said yeah. Started doing it and then didn't show up a single podcast. Right. So for God's sake, don't agree to something you can't do. That's why a lot of people don't get hired nowadays. Especially young people, because I've had to deal with the same thing. They don't want to hire young persons because of that type of behavior. So for Chris, he's still on the podcast. Thank goodness. He was the guy that was doing it last time with us. So next weekend we're going to film his apartment, and this week I decided to give him a break because well, Swilly, I was aggravated as hell last night. So I was like, I don't know if it's going to be a good conversation with me and him tomorrow. So I was like, we'll just push it to next weekend, and I'll force you to do it. So here we are. So just to let people know, that's what's going on. All right, this is why Chrissy's on camera. Every time she's
Again.
on camera, something happens.
It's usually because I'm filling in for somebody that was supposed to be there but didn't show up.
Yeah, so I'm getting quite tired of this. So anyway, explain to people what the Nook is, because last time you were on, it had a totally different name.
Yeah. So basically, um, it's the similar idea to what Lunar Suds was gonna be, but I found out I did some intense research and brand creation at the beginning of the summer, and realized that not only was that name taken already, it also the logo was the exact same. Now, I'm aware that there are lots of businesses out there that have a similar idea, similar logos and stuff, sell different things, perhaps, right? I'm not that kind of person. I do not want to be at risk of being accused of stealing anything, any kind of idea. So I just scrapped it. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm keeping the same idea, the homemade soaps, homemade body products, and whatnot. But it's changed a lot. And because of, you know, my degree, what I'm doing now, what I'm going to do in the future, lots of social work kind of stuff. I want to continue to include that in my business. So I'll have a for-profit business selling my homemade goods. And I also intend to have a tea shop, like a cafe. That's part of it as well. because I love to cook, I love to bake, I
Now,
love
when you
teas.
do this, is it going to be the natural apothecary we were talking about? And if it
Right,
is, explain that to
right,
people
right,
because
right.
they're not going to know.
So I do have this idea that I'm taking inspiration from like the old school apothecaries, right? Before the pharmacies where we had all the manufactured pills, um, most people, or a lot of people, used herbs, things that came from the earth. Now, a
Or
lot,
prayer.
or,
Or
or
prayer.
prayer. Um, Granted, a lot of our medicines do still come from plants. They're just manufactured and turned into something else. Um, but I mean, tea has benefits in and of itself, right? So my idea is to study herbology essentially and become familiar with the different kinds of herbs that I can grow myself, or I could get from perhaps a farmer, a local farmer, and turn those into jars and jars and rows of dried herbs that you could blend into your own teas, depending on what you needed. Now, I mean, of course, you have to take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt. I'm by no means a medical professional, um, and ultimately, I am I am pushing. Come enjoy a nice cup of tea, right?
Well, at the same time, you do your research. I mean, there is
Yeah,
some teas
there.
that do have medical benefits, which
Yeah.
is what you're doing.
Yes, that's the idea. Is to study that, um, and read research papers, published articles from professionals about these different kinds of plants and what you can do with them. So that's the idea. So it's kind of like it's a soap cafe apothecary.
Soup kitchen.
The soup kitchen comes in
You don't want to
because
have
I
a.
want to add on a nonprofit. So that's where I keep my degree and my passion for working with people involved in my for-profit business. Um, I unfortunately I don't see much of our homelessness situation that we have in the states, or our poverty issues that we have in the states, being remedied in the next few years. Um, so
Can you explain that some? Because I know you're trained in it, and people think it's just people are gonna wonder. I guess when you hear that, from a social worker starting a soup kitchen, they think it's the same old thing, right? Homeless people lose their job to come get food and
right,
shelter from you.
right,
Tell them what the homeless situation actually is in America, especially Skid Row in California. I don't think a lot of people actually know what's going on with homeless people. You either
yeah,
hear the scams of homeless people, where they're
mhm,
just taking your money on the side of the street,
mhm,
or the other side where they lost their job and now they're on the
yeah,
street. But a lot of
yeah,
it's mental health issues
yes, yeah. A lot of it is mental
and
health
drugs.
issues. Um, I mean, there's so much that you can get into it. I'm by no means an expert. There is somebody who's an expert on it. What's his name? He was on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, girl, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
He was a
Well,
doctor though.
yes. So he's an expert in homelessness. Um, Maybe we'll put it in the description when
Yeah,
we find his
I
name.
found him.
So I would absolutely go look at what he's done, read his books about it. I only know the light, not definitely not light, but the basic details about it. Um, yes, people can become or experience homelessness for so many different reasons. It could be literally you lost your job, you had to file bankruptcy on your house, and now you're living in your car. Or it could be you're dealing with mental health um, issues that you're unable to get treated because healthcare is expensive. So you're on the street with no one to help you with that. And that also a lot of times leads to addiction, which the majority of, well, not the majority, but a lot of homeless people are dealing with addiction
Based on
as
the
well.
data, that is the majority.
It is the majority, yeah. Which is mental health issues in and of itself. And it's not that these are bad people by any means. Like, that is a misconception that people need to get out of their heads. You shouldn't be scared of somebody when you find out or you realize that, oh, they're homeless, you know? And I don't know. How do I put it?
How do you put it? Well, I'm the one who watched the podcast.
Yeah.
So
You can further explain.
It's been a while. It's been like a year since I've seen it. I was working in Sumitomo at this point still.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been quite a long time. But basically, this guy had been working on homelessness 20 years ago. And this is when Skid Row in California, people don't know where that is. It's in California, and it's like blocks and blocks of a small city of homeless people. And when you go to Skid Row, there's nothing but needles on the ground. There's so many situations of gang rape there, and people obviously sharing needles and spreading diseases in Skid Row. And what's going on in California, which is what he was talking about, is what they're doing is paying social workers triple figures to not fix the issue. You know, and what's going on in California also is that they've been captured, in his words, by ideology of grabbing these people. Not actually, no, not even grabbing these people. Like, they're not allowed to arrest homeless people anymore, because arrest in the Americans' mind mean going to prison. Mm-hmm. Arrest actually means picking these people up, detaining them for a while, and figuring out what to do with them. So he said they're not even allowed to arrest these people anymore, and they're thinking about not even sending police officers with social workers into Skid Row by themselves, And data may be skewed on this, but I know that most social workers are women.
Yes.
So you're sending women by themselves, maybe two, to Skid Row, a bunch of homeless people with no type of backup, no type of plan other than trying to get someone off the streets, with not a cop car in sight. So you're gonna have to put these people in regular cars. All right, so that's part of the problem that's going on. And he was explaining that we're not trying to rehab these people. You know, we're buying off whole hotels and putting them in there without any type of what's the word? He's like prerequisite, I think he said.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't expect them to get their lives better, so they'll get into a hotel and do the same thing that they were doing anyway. He said in other countries, I think it was Norway. It's one of those European cities. But I mean, European countries. They're all switching to this anyway. So I can name any one of them, and they're going to be doing it. But what they're doing is they're arresting people and saying, "Look, if you want help, you have to go to work. You got to file a report every single week that you've been going to work if you want to keep this hotel. If not, you're going to be rounded up in a group and put into a group home with the rest of the homeless people. Or if you want to keep all the benefits we're going to give to you, you have to submit paperwork. You got a social worker that works with them. You got a police officer that's assigned to them. And that's the way they're rehabbing the people, and they're getting the homeless situation cleaned up." So he was thinking, like, we don't even want to think of it as a cleanup job, but it is. You can't have a whole city of homeless people. We shouldn't have homeless people in general, right? But that's the way of the world. You should, at the very least, not have a whole city block of homeless people.
Yeah, it is terrifying. I mean, the reality is, and you'll hear this all the time, you know, people are like, yeah, I'm a social worker. A lot of times that comes with being overworked and underpaid, because there are so
Not in California.
Well, see, that I don't understand. I don't understand. It's like, okay, you can pay them more, but for what?
Well, they're paying, what California is saying is, look, we can't control the homeless situation.
Yes, you can.
And they're spending millions of dollars on it, just upping the budget every year.
Right.
And that's why the social workers there get paid so much.
Right. So okay, I see. So they're just taking it into the budget. It's not. Okay.
So if you don't fix it, you keep getting paid.
But
that's part of it.
It's infuriating. It's infuriating because there's a nonprofit organization in Lexington, and it's national too. Like, you can find it anywhere. It's called Community Action, and they have a section that does help people experiencing homelessness. Because, fun fact, there is a very large homeless population in Lexington, Kentucky.
I know.
And in Richmond, actually. So what they do is they do have prerequisites. So they have what's called a shelter first kind of mindset, right? So you cannot, if you're a person who is dealing with addiction, you cannot get clean, you can't get a job, you can't begin to build your, your strength, your motivation to fix your life if you don't have shelter, if you don't have a stable place to live. So they will house you, but you basically have to show that you are trying, right? And that is that's really important. It's really important because it's not that homeless people have no motivation to get a job. It's very easy. You see somebody on the corner with a cardboard sign, and it's like, why don't they just go get a job? Well, it's easy for you to say because you have a job. Because you know that you have resources. If you lose your job or you lose your house, you probably have family that you can go stay with until you get yourself back up on your feet.
Now, I have to preface this a little bit. We have to also show the other side. Because, like I told you the other day, I was driving to work and we are in desperate need of help.
Yeah.
And this guy had a sign that said, work for food. And I said, look, man, you'll work for pay. We desperately need someone to come help be our route driver. And this man blew me off.
I mean, yeah.
And that happens. Everyone has a story like that.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen. But when you're somebody who is working, trying to fix this issue because you care about people and you don't want to see people suffering anymore, it's hard. You're only one person who's responsible for 6 to 10 cases, 6 to 10 families, making sure that they are maybe looking for a job and they have shelter and they have food. But the reality is, a lot of homeless shelters, you can only stay there for a certain amount of time because there are so many people that you have to cycle them out. It's a reality. It's the reality. And, well, I am not going to directly be working with people experiencing homelessness. I know that there are greedy people in the world who would much rather just be pumping money into something, launching fancy color graphic campaigns saying, oh, we're doing this, solving homelessness, all this jazz, without actually fixing the root of the issue, which is lack of access to affordable health care, lack of access to affordable housing, and food, inflation.
Decriminalizing drugs.
Decriminalizing drugs.
Quite nice for these people.
It would be nice for these people who are put in jail for drugs,
And just in case, because there's going to be Americans watching, look, you have to look up what Europe is doing, because they're decriminalizing it at a very fast rate. And you can look up the data. I promise you, decriminalize, it doesn't lead, because growing up they'll tell you it leads to more, but actually it leads to less.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how many of your cousins that you don't get to see anymore because they just happen to be caught on heroin and they're addicted. It's a mental health issue, right? And then they get thrown in jail because they're on drugs.
Because they're on drugs with
that
no
is crazy.
Actual rehabilitation that happens.
Right.
You're thrown into a cell with people who could have done much worse than you. And all you really need is a stable place to stay and somebody to help you work through your issues.
Right.
And to help you, get clean. And because I think people are stronger and have more will than we give them credit for. And I think because of the stigmas that we place around certain things that we're told are bad. You're a bad person if you do this, if you do drugs, or if you drink. No, you're not a bad person. It's what happens because you're choosing to do this is what makes you a bad person. And I get it. It's hard. It's hard to say I want to get clean, and it's hard to be in that motivation. But there's so many variables that go into helping people in these situations. Like, you're not going to run into the same case every time. You're not going to. There are similar situations. There's kind of like a blueprint that you can follow, because we know that works. But
Did you see the post I sent you through Messenger about the prisoners?
I don't. Oh, about the hotel?
No, no, it was about send a Bible to a prisoner and,
Oh.
and get them read. All right, so there's a there's a campaign that's so funny. It's so preposterous. Now, I mean, you hear a lot of stories about people going to prison and basically being rehabbed by God. But here's the thing: those are few and far between. Those only make it because those people have done something afterwards. There's 80% of the prisoners I know was beating up people who were preaching in prison. Almost all of them. All right. So there's this campaign. I guess this is a Christian campaign. It's got a lot of followers, right? It's a lot of people believe in this, and sometimes I like to fake being Christian, so it starts popping up on my Facebook news feed. And I was like, oh no. So I click on it, right? So you send a Bible. You pay to send a Bible. You pay. I don't know if it actually goes to these prisoners. A lot of that money don't. Actually, I got something to say about prisoners in a second. It's going to be crazy. Remember I was telling you about Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala Harris when they had the debate? I'm going to get into that in a little bit. So you can send this Bible to these prisoners, okay? And it's supposed to magically rehab them. I think they're being forced to read a Bible in a cell. That's what it looked like to me when I was reading it. Once you sign up for this program, I think you get a prisoner to send a Bible to, or you sign up funding, and they're forced to read this Bible. I believe that's how it goes, and it's the greatest thing. It's the greatest invention we've ever done.
It sounds like it's just free entertainment, to be honest. It's just
Oh, it's
something
awesome.
that they can do.
Well, it's like your little pet in prison. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's your little Christian pet.
Like, here's the thing. I can understand,
That's the best thing.
find God, right? Follow God, because it gives you a reason, it gives you a path to follow. It's like, okay, here's the line, I just have to walk straight. And it could help. It can help. I'm not going to knock it. I mean, you do what you have to do. If that is what works for you, then do it. Right? As long as you're not trying to hurt or, I don't know, degrade other people.
Which is their specialty.
That's just, you can't throw something in somebody's face and expect them to just do it. Like, that's not.
How about you go in the prison and teach them about God?
Go teach. I don't know, do a buddy system.
That's what they're supposed to be. That's their godly. Like, I grew up Christian, so I know. This is, even my own grandparents who are preachers don't do this. Okay? They're all technically supposed to be street preaching. They're all technically supposed to be Jehovah's Witness. So, if that's what you're supposed to do, and if you're a Christian and you're driving past homeless people every day, thinking what you think, I'm not trying to hear it. But this is what we do as humans. We'll be like, to make ourselves feel better, though, because this doesn't put any effort in. I can just sign up and send this person the Bible, and it's up to him to find God. But it's supposed to be a Christian's job to bring you towards God. Okay? It's funny. It's funny as hell to me. So about Kamala Harris, right? So I learned even more information because Tulsi Gabbard is awesome, and she did another Joe Rogan podcast. So she's talking, because Joe brought it up. He's like, yeah, why didn't anyone else bring up Kamala Harris' record? I was like, her record? She is upwards of 99% conviction rate whenever she was, I think, governor.
Of where?
I think it was, I can't remember where it was, but they were having the debate, and Tulsi Gabbard brought up her record. So apparently, here's what she was doing. It was even worse than I thought, because I thought she was locking up prisoners to do prison labor, which is what she was doing. But after those people served their time, she still made them do work that prisoners do.
So they weren't set free. They didn't leave the facility.
She kept them. Either she kept them in the facility, or she made them work after they got out and threatened to put them back in
If they didn't.
if they didn't work for free. That's why her conviction rate is so high. So she was bragging about how high her conviction rate is.
That's not the flex you think that is.
So Tulsi starts eating her alive. That's why she dropped out, even though she got picked to be our vice president, which is bizarre to me. All right, look. Here's the thing: we're not in the future yet, so our conviction rate shouldn't even be near 90%. That's some witch hunting stuff.
But America does. The U.S. has the highest conviction
Of
rate
course
of
it
any
does,
country.
because we run off prison labor, just like China. Exactly. Like everyone's talking about, well, you use the iPhone, based on China. Look, bro, we have our own slavery system, just like them. Just like them, man. Everything you do here is based off slavery. It hasn't changed. Like, you want to think, this is one thing I say to black people too. They're like, we built America. Look, America's still being built off slavery. Okay, that's just how it is. Every country that's gotten ahead has gotten ahead because of slavery. That's the way the human works, man. That's the way the human history works. You look through all of, now I'm not advocating
Oh,
for,
no.
but there's some people are like, hold on, he sounds like if you want to get ahead, you use slavery. No, that's not what I'm saying. Now we have robots to do all the slave labor work. But you look through history, that's how it's always been. It's not a recent thing. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It's Let's talk about New Zealand and their eugenics,
Okay.
because
Oh, jeez. Yeah, we found this out not too long ago.
if you don't know what eugenics is, it's basically, if you heard, I'll give you an example. The easiest way to explain it: whenever we were all grown up, we heard about China having the one male rule.
Child policy.
You got to have one male. Females were in mortal danger if you were born in
Yeah.
China. That's what eugenics
Yeah.
is.
Or it could be trying to clean the gene pool, essentially.
Right.
So if you have a population that has a certain disorder or disability, you will essentially, when you find that out, abort the child or kill the child, so that way the gene pool no longer has that disorder or disability.
Right. It's the same thing medieval people used to do,
Yeah.
right? Keep it in the family.
Keeping it in the
Even though they made eugenic issues
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so New Zealand is a place that a lot of people who know us, we were thinking about moving to.
We're thinking about it.
We're thinking about it. Still, we have to think about it. But New Zealand, we already knew about one part of it, which was, they don't allow you to come into the country 55 and over. Now, to me, that was reasonable, because it's obviously it is eugenics, but at the same time, if you have a growing economy that's been taken over by the Chinese and you need to compete,
That is true.
you don't want people to come and take up more of those spots by retiring and not bring anything to your economy when it's just now recovering, especially after COVID and you guys are starting to boom. You don't want that, because New Zealand would be a vacation spot just like Hawaii is. That's why Hawaii doesn't boom.
Now, nothing against elder people. You're a very valuable part to our society.
I have something
But
against
New
elder
Zealand-
people.
New Zealand is a very small country. So limited space.
Yeah, limited space and limited economy growth
Yeah.
based on space. So I do have something against old people. We'll get into that later. So what they also practice is what we learn is that if you are on the spectrum on any way,
Yeah.
they won't allow you into the country.
Yeah. Diagnosed.
Diagnosed.
Now, if you're diagnosed to be on the autism, yet you have autism spectrum disorder, they will not allow you into the country. Which, as somebody who, my degree, is all about helping children, I just took a course about helping children with disabilities. That really hurts. It really hurts. Because there's so much stigma about disabilities anyway, especially autism, that I'm like, I don't know if I would be comfortable living in a country that does that. Now, granted, we live in America. That does a lot of that anyway. But if I, had to choose, is it worth it? Is it worth it to move there knowing that that's the kind of ideology that they have, and it's not. And it is eugenics, basically. It's because they have a stigma against it, and they think that it makes you less valuable of a person. And I don't agree with that.
Will you reconsider Finland now?
Yeah.
We talked about it a while ago, and you was like, I don't want to move. Now, why don't you want to move to Netherlands? What do you have against the
I don't have
Netherlands?
anything against the Netherlands. I don't have anything against the Netherlands.
You saying that because the camera is open?
I don't want to have to. Okay. If anybody is willing to learn the language, it's gonna be me.
Yeah.
You're gonna put no effort into doing that.
Wait, hold on. Let's slow down now. Let's slow down. They speak English there. One.
Okay, but
two.
If I move to another country that speaks a different language, I'm gonna try to learn it because that's fair.
Okay. The second thing is I'm getting that Neuralink, baby. It's gonna automatically give me that language. I'm gonna be first in line. Hook me up. I mean, think about it. If you die, you die. But if you don't, you get one of the coolest, if not the coolest, if not the best invention man has to offer.
Right. But until you have the money,
I got the money
to do that.
I got the money.
I'm the one who's gonna have to learn how to speak.
I know Elon personally.
No, the heck you don't.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
I emailed him in 2008.
Oh.
Yeah, it's about the new Tesla he was working on. I was like, look, bro, no one else believes in electric cars but me. I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
I'm sure your support helped.
This is back when Elon didn't have any hair. You ever seen that picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew him then. I was like, bro, you handsome. I was like, you handsome, bro. No one else was saying that to Elon but me. Okay, we go way back. Anyway, based on look, you do have something against the Netherlands. Tell me what it is, because she was like, I don't want to move there. Why?
I don't have anything against the Netherlands.
Why? Why didn't you want to move there then?
It's hard to get in. Anyway.
It's hard to get in anywhere except for New Zealand. If you don't have all the prerequisites.
Exactly. I don't know enough about the prerequisites to move to the Netherlands.
I know it takes much longer than New Zealand.
Yeah.
Not up to a year though. It's like 6-8 months. New Zealand could take 2 months. So it's like if you're in a hurry, but we're not in a hurry. Let's get back on track of what we was going to talk about the business.
Oh, your business.
Oh yeah, my business.
Yeah, because my stuff is like in progress.
Yeah,
and it'll probably change at some point.
I wasn't going to talk about credit marketing. I was going to talk about. I guess we'll get into that later. So in the future, I don't know what we're going to do. If we're going to go to New Zealand, Finland, or we're going to stay in America. I'm not sure. Or Switzerland, right? I don't know what we'll decide in 5 years. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully, it'll still be New Zealand. That's been the whole plan. But what if I find out I'm on the spectrum and then we can't go?
Then don't get diagnosed on paper.
I'm not gonna get diagnosed. But what if they start being like, look, we gonna have to diagnose y'all before you because you sneaking in.
Okay.
Y'all sneaking in, so we gotta start diagnosing.
See, the thing with that too. What the hell?
Hey, that's funny, bro. I don't believe in it, but you gotta laugh because if you don't laugh, there's so much bad stuff that goes on in the world. There's a culture that there's actually a few cultures that used to have a town jester that go around making fun of all the best things in the village. So like if you're the biggest warrior, he would roast you, and if you got mad, they'd be like, oh, that guy's bullshit, basically. Oh. And then he would make fun of anything, death.
Is that
the
what
preacher
the jester was? I thought that they were just to entertain, like the king.
That was the medieval jester. This is before that. So
that's funny. He was just the town roaster.
He was just roasting everything. Okay, so like it was just to make sure we don't take things too seriously.
Right.
To get to the point we are in today, where everything's too serious. They knew that back then, and was like, look, we got to make fun of stuff, or we'll have a big problem.
That does kind of sound like Gen Z humor a little bit. Because you've heard it's like Gen Z doesn't take anything seriously.
Yeah.
And like I get it. Like my generation, we're getting there. Give us some time, please. We're only like 24. But anyway,
it's a good thing not to take things seriously. I think honestly, it's the millennials that have ruined everything. I mean, no, seriously, think about it. They're the ones that pushed all this new stupid bias and they're the new professors in the college, which has pushed all that stupid bias. And you know who actually started this? The boomers. If you don't believe me, George Carlin has a whole comedy special about this before we were even born, talking about how the
Well,
boomers
obviously
changed.
before we were
Well,
born.
that's why I want people to understand that because we're 24, right? And
Yeah.
people think this started now.
Right.
It's actually the boomer generation that started
But
this.
every generation says that, though. Every generation
He's in
looks
the boomer
back
generation, though.
and it's like, oh, yes.
That's why he said that his own generation started this. He said his parents before him weren't like this.
Really?
You have to listen to this bit.
I'll have to
It's
listen to the bit.
amazing.
Because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you have to. I think if anyone goes and looks it up, because they have all these on YouTube,
Yeah.
and you'll find the title, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But George Carlin, he was talking. That's why I found it so interesting because it didn't just start with our generation, right? Taking everything seriously. Someone had to teach us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everything we do, well, not everything, but a lot of the things we do is taught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is about our generation. Maybe somebody's out there doing a study of why we do take things seriously, but at the same time, I think that we use humor to deal with a lot of things.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a
a
good
lot
thing.
of things, and I don't. It is a good thing. It's a good thing to a degree. I think that the issue can come in is when, especially, I know people get tired of hearing about this, but like mental health issues. Like, okay, you can joke about it, but if something is seriously wrong, please get help. You know, like, okay, to an extent, dark humor is acceptable.
Did you know that in Samaria there used to be their tradition was a preacher will slap the king every year and try to make him cry.
Mm-hmm.
That way he can be prostrated in front of everyone
Yeah.
and not be above everyone just
Yeah.
because he's leading the people.
Yeah.
The way they used to do it actually reminds me of the way bees do it now, where the hive controls the queen and not the other way around.
Yeah.
Right? They determine whether she dies or lives, or whether to make a new one or not, or whether to make more mills or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy.
We should be more like the bees.
We should. I mean, that's the way our society was supposed to be set up anyway.
Supposed to.
Democracy was supposed to be like the bees. And it didn't turn out to be that way because the way the bees have it set up, they don't have multiple parties.
Right.
They got one party, the swarm. And if the queen don't listen, they chop her. Well, they don't chop her head
They
off,
tear it apart.
but they actually just get around her and warm up real
Yeah.
quick and
Kill
kill her,
quicker.
cook her to death, like they do murder hornets. We were all scared of them. The bees weren't taking no shit. They were burning them up,
bees
bro.
are insane.
They're
You know,
serious.
so I have a friend who's taken the beekeeping course at school.
Are they gonna be a beekeeper?
No,
Oh.
he was taking it just for fun. I wanted to take it, but you have to have all these prerequisites, and I went about that. I'm not
Just
an
to
ag
get
major.
into the.
You have to
Oh,
be
it's
an
the
ag
ag.
major, yeah.
Man, okay.
But he told us that because they were looking at these African bees, right? These African beekeepers, African beekeepers who had African bees.
Okay.
The keepers themselves were not
Did
African.
he say like what's the
Um,
difference between African bees and regular? Because I don't
Just
know.
Species.
Oh, okay.
There are so many species of bees. But he said, and I thought this was funny, that if the bees don't like you, don't like the conditions, the whole hive will just leave.
They would just leave. Yeah.
They'll dead ass just up and leave. And I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, they'll go find. So, did he explain the way it works? So they'll send one scout out. Okay, the scout will go find it. Okay, the scout will come back and do a little dance to let them know where it is, and then the other ones, there would be two that will sit there and interpret the dance, and then they'll go and find it and they'll come back. So then the bees will take a vote to see whether they want to go or not. And if some of the bees decide they want to stay there with the queen,
Yeah.
the bees would just leave and make a new
They'll
queen.
just leave.
And then if those bees decide to leave, they'll kill the queen and they
Right.
go follow the other bees.
Right. I love bees.
Well, that's wild, bro.
I love bees. I want to be more like a bee.
Do you know if they go to war, like if let's say the same colony decides to split up and go to war and make a new queen, they'll fight to the death. The queen will fight to the death.
Yeah.
That
They're no
is
joke. These are
wild.
no, like, they don't just pollinate our food. These are no joke.
Did you ever hear the Joe Rogan story of whenever he's doing Fear Factor, and they was doing like they were covering people with bees.
Yeah.
So
that's always what's done in like these shows.
so they moved this colony somewhere. Like they had this beekeeper, and there was a colony of bees that came to see what these bees were doing here.
Oh.
So the beekeeper was like, "Hey, we got to stop for an hour." They were like, "What?" Just like, "Yeah, they're going to talk it out and see what these bees are doing here." So after an hour, that bee colony left, and the bees was like, "All right, we're all good to go."
Yo.
That's what the beekeeper was saying.
Serious?
Yeah. So they'll come and see, hey, what are you doing in our territory? The other
Yeah.
bees will be like, hey, we just got moved here. We're
I don't know
visiting.
what we're doing.
Right. We got the queen in here. We're not thinking about moving anywhere.
Right.
And then after an hour, they're good.
Damn, negotiating.
Negotiating.
That's all it takes is communication. We can learn a thing or two.
Yeah, we could.
Talk.
They just like, hey, what are y'all
What y'all
doing,
doing?
bro? We ain't enough flowers for both of us. Ain't enough for both of us.
I love it.
That's crazy.
I love animals. They're great.
I've been learning about bees a lot
Yeah.
because he had that bee lady on, and then Paul Stamets. Anytime I see bee stuff, I just click on it.
It's crazy. I would love to keep bees eventually. Wait,
You know what?
what do you mean?
Look, chicken or bees, you gotta pick.
Both.
Where you gonna be living? It ain't gonna be near me.
It'll be like on a certain section of our land.
Of
Far-
our
far from
land?
the house.
So you gonna be on our land?
Yeah.
You going on the other side of the street?
Bro, what's the difference in me keeping bees and having a bee just, frolicking through the flowers?
You ever
On a
play with
casual
me?
day.
You ever play with me? I'm gonna get my own colony. We're gonna go to war.
I'd rather not make our bees fight. That's so cruel.
Well, you can't make bees fight.
Okay,
They'll
but I don't
talk it
wanna-
out
I
and
don't
see
want to
whether they want
do
to
all
fight.
that.
Oh, actually, I never did explain what the next business is going to be. I totally forgot.
We got on a tangent about bees.
Yeah. I actually plan on making another company pretty soon. But after that, it might end up being 3 companies.
Well, damn.
So, in the future, in the next 5 years or so,
In the future.
we were thinking about starting a tavern.
Oh,
So it's going to be called The Last Call. Shout out to Macy.
bro, and Charles.
And Charles. Well, no, not Charles. Charles is trying to do us dirty. Charles is trying to. It's from our Dungeons and Dragons game. We got a tavern, and I ain't gonna tell you what's all in there, because. But Charles didn't want us to have it. Let's just say that. So we named it The Last Call because you guys. I shouldn't say we.
Yeah.
You guys converted a ghost to work in this tavern when
Yeah.
I wanted to kill it.
Yeah, we could, so I'm a bard. I was a bard in this campaign, and I had a really high charisma, and I told a joke to this ghost. Now, mind you, what this ghost used to be is like this divine deity being type thing. So if he really didn't like the joke that I told, he would have killed us.
You would have been well, he would have killed
He would've
y'all.
killed me. But I rolled really high, and he laughed at this dumbass joke that I
rolled
told.
high.
And so we convinced this ghost to work for us as our bartender and basically our bouncer. He was like our bartender bouncer.
Yeah.
So
The Last Call was
last
born.
call.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
I missed that campaign.
Me
We had a
too.
lot of fun. But yeah, so we're gonna start a tavern. But actually, it wasn't even based on that campaign we had. But we were like, you know what? We might as well name it. So The Last Call is going to be our tavern. This is why I said 5 years, because you gotta figure out where you're gonna stay. You can't just start a tavern, take out all that money for a business loan, and then disappear. So, or be hampered there, or chained to your place and not be able to go where you want to. And I always felt like a real tavern, for the things that I want to do with it, which I'll get into in a second, New Zealand would be much better, or anywhere close to Europe.
Yeah.
America doesn't really.
It doesn't.
It's not guns. If it's
No.
not guns and and all that stuff. They don't want anything to do
Doesn't
with
fit
it.
the vibe. You know, like I don't know. I feel like the attitudes towards nerd stuff is, becoming much lighter.
With
It's
our
with
generation,
our
though.
generation, yes. But we do plan on moving out of the country anyway,
Right.
if we can. Of course, we don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe the end of the world. Maybe some, foreseen war, pre-planned type shit. I don't know.
Pre-planned. I feel
I
like they're
feel like
all
they're all
pre-planned.
exactly like they. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, we wanted to start a tavern, and it'll be really cool. It'll be pretty chill. Honestly, too, we're debating on whether to even have alcohol.
No, we decided not to.
Yeah,
Mostly because, not because of you guys, not because of you, mostly because all the certifications you have to go through to
yeah.
serve alcohol. Look, if
It's
you go to your local brewer, you have to give them a tip. They went through hell for you. They went through hell. All the research I did, because I do a lot of research before you start, which you always should. Nightmare. Certifications after certifications, and then you got to get inspected after inspection after inspection.
yeah.
That's why all the alcohol places now they look so clean. Even the speakeasy look clean.
Mm-hmm.
You have to because they like their health inspections got to be high all the time.
Which I
And
find interesting.
more than
That more
food,
than food.
bro. Lexington's the dirtiest place I've ever been to. Every place I've been have had like an 80 health inspection score, and it drops. And
Yeah.
every place you go, even the corporate chains, are dirty as hell.
Yeah.
I hate it, man.
Yeah.
I hate living there. I hate commuting there. I hate talking to the people there. I hate eating there. It's disgusting everywhere you go.
But yeah.
Enough of my rant.
Yeah,
So
we don't
here's
want to have alcohol.
here's what also I planned that you didn't know about. So I told you about the larping company.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you what I was gonna do. So for the tavern, here's what's gonna make it expensive. Is that if I, and we could split this up. I wanted to have a tavern with space.
Okay.
It's not attached, which means we have to market it pretty hard because you're gonna have space and not around anywhere. People are gonna have to put in the effort to come.
Right.
Right. So you could
Has to be
technically,
worth it.
it has to be worth it. So you have to you'd be technically losing money if you don't do this correctly. But I wanted to buy some place with land, and then in the back we would have our LARPing quest and tournaments. Okay.
Okay. So dinner and a show.
Well, not a show because they'll be participating, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be like a D&D campaign. You come into our tavern, and then your quest would start. So to,
So yo,
hold on, hold on. Let
I
me keep
got
going.
this.
Let me keep going. I'm gonna tell you, right? So whenever
Brain's
we
cooking.
start, everyone's gonna start at level 1, right? Which is the most exciting part.
Right.
So we'll have either an app or like a website where you keep up with the leaderboard of all the players, right? So you'll have a party of 4, and we'll have these quests you can do in the back. So you go to the tavern, you and your party get together. You may drink, and all you guys are dressed up, and you're literally in our tavern, right? Which is cool. And normal people can come too, right?
Normal people.
I mean, people who aren't doing the quest can come and chill,
just
enjoy
eat,
themselves, and play a
right.
D&D campaign, whatever they want to do.
Right. Watch.
But once you're ready to do the quest, we'll have employees that basically do your quest, and all the combat will be turn based as well, because live action can be quite hard with weapons.
Right.
So we'll have rules to what kind of armor you have. You'll be signed up as a warrior, ranger, whatever you are. Healing spells. We'll have to design all the spells ourselves, and then all the armor, all the classes. So anything that we write in the book, I'm just gonna transfer it over.
Bro.
That way is easy.
That's fair.
That's fair. So they'll go on these quests, and then every year we'll have the and I'll explain what the quests are later because I know you got something to say too. But every year we'll have the Ruined King quest, right? So whoever is at the top 10 of the leaderboard, right, the top 10 parties, will get to compete to go against the Ruined King, which is me, right? So since I'll be doing HEMA, I actually know how to sword fight. It'd be fucking cool. So at the end, well, actually at the beginning, they'll start at the Ruined King's palace, right? And I'll banish them out, right? I'll give a speech. I'll have this whole armor. I'll have like a skull face mask because I'm Ruined King. I'm dead. Okay, so I'm like this undead king, and I'm tall enough so it works. I'll be standing over people. The problem is, so in New Zealand, it's the Maori, right? Those are big
I was
people.
about to say, are you sure about
So
that?
I mean, I'll be standing over some people. So, but I need to. I'll have a big sword that I'll be carrying, which is why I said we need to find a blacksmith because I want it to be a real sword. It'd be cool. If not, then I'll just get like a normal
You could
sword made
have
out of resin or
the
something.
real sword for the speech, the show, and then switch it out to a fake replica.
Yeah, I might do that. So I'll be standing there in front of my throne with my sword, and I'll give them a speech. I'll banish them, and then they'll compete with our employees. Will keep score and make sure everything's right. Compete against monsters, compete against each other, and at the end, whoever makes it will get to fight against the Ruin King. If you lost any party members, you better not because I'm hard to kill.
Right.
And then whoever wins gets a custom made piece of armor for their character. Right. So we'll have a collaboration with some type of costume maker
Right.
in the city, which would be awesome too.
That would be so.
So it's
freaking
once a
cool.
year for the Ruin King, and then we'll have events obviously throughout the
Mm-hmm.
year that people get to compete against and switch them out so people don't get bored. And then think about resetting the leaderboard every year. Maybe not. Maybe it'd be cool to see people's scores go way up because they've just been competing. We'll we'll say people get to switch out their characters, right? So if you got a
Yeah.
party full of one character, you can just switch them out and start from level one again, and you'll be at the bottom of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So
That sounds awesome.
it does, but you
Like,
need land. If not,
yeah.
we'll
that's
think
true.
about renting out a place.
Right. We'd have to add on to it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we would have to put in the money to do renovations. That sounds really cool. It sounds like what Dave and Buster's, like all those arcade restaurant kind of places, tries to be.
Right. This is gonna be much. It's
Right.
gonna be a place that people finally get to go do something fun and be the character that they've designed for so many
Right.
years. Right. I just always feel bad because I'm gonna start this, and there's gonna be people who for 50 years didn't get to do that, but they may not move as well. So I might design something and like, look, hey, all those old nerds,
It's
when you getting
accommodating.
when you getting
Yeah.
persecuted for playing Dungeons and Dragons, look, now you're accepted. I have a special competition just for the older folks,
Just, I mean,
and it'll be
yeah.
so much fun.
They could also, I mean, if they need assistance, you know, like if they have a disability or something. I mean, it'll be accessible.
I just
to
got something to
everybody.
do for them. So we can hire them as employees, and we'll set them up around the land. So if you need a prayer to gain more health, you'll go to one of our oracles set up, and we'll have our older people play as the oracles. That way they can heal people and be a part of it. Because
They wanted to be.
if they wanted to be, I'm saying like if you can't move as well and you don't want to really compete, and it could be a long map. You could be an employee, and this way give like jobs to them too, so they have something to do. Because a lot of older people will retire and not have anything to do.
They usually go back to work.
Exactly. This would be a more fun thing for you to do. It may be if you're into that stuff.
Yeah, if you're into it.
Seems like you're not really feeling that idea,
We'll see.
but that one just came out my butt, so I ain't been thinking about that
Yeah, I
one.
can tell.
Leave me alone. So what was the ideas that you had? What were you
Oh,
gonna say?
You basically said it.
What was it? What did
Well,
I say?
I mean, with the like creating the matches and whatnot, right? We have to have a way to keep up with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, maybe like a physical card that has your record on it, or we just have like a record book ourselves.
I was gonna have an app where
Or an app.
they log in and
Yeah.
and our
But I was
employees
thinking-
basically.
Not everybody could have access to that, so a physical copy would help.
Yeah, that's a lot of record keeping. But think about it. If we
A
have,
designated record keeper.
I mean, but think
That's
about
their job,
how
is to
many.
keep the record.
Think about how many parties you may have. Right, me and you
Exactly.
thinking about maybe 10 or 20. There could be 80 parties of
Well,
4 people each
Here's the thing then, right?
with different characters each person.
Here's the thing that we could do.
Okay.
We have a set number of parties that can compete in whatever match, right? Maybe we have like We could have little nightly one shots, essentially, or we could do it only on the weekend, which would give people time to prepare. You know, so all day it's every weekend or every other week or something like that. A big match or like a one shot. Maybe we could alternate it, and then it's a set number of parties you have to RSVP. If you don't show up, and that's okay. Life happens. If you don't show up, then a different party can come. Right?
Right.
So we have essentially like a waiting list. But we have to have a set number. Otherwise it does get hectic. But that's much easier to keep up with.
I mean, I haven't figured it all out.
That's why you got me. I'm good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm just an idea person. I'm too stupid to do anything else but bring up ideas. So,
What do you think? Okay.
but you can finish. You can do all the leg work. Okay.
All the actual work.
Yeah, because I'm too dumb. So that's why I need
your idea.
Exactly. That's all I got. That's all I got is the idea. But I've been thinking about that too. It's like, how are we gonna? Because no business owner thinks like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be popular, and that's where the part messes up. Like I remember when they started doing D&D Critical Role, and it was like 2015, and they only made 100 shirts for their first merch, and the guy Orion on there was like, "You guys only made 100?" They sold out within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Gone. Right, so you have to start thinking about that ahead of time, and I think they sell out all their merch still to this day. Right, so we have to start thinking like, look, we may from the jump have 80 members.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible, but I think having a designated record keeper, like that is what you get paid to do. You get paid
An accountant,
basically an accountant for the games, because we're gonna have to have employees for the restaurant and for the game.
Yeah.
Because like that's just too much to put on one person.
True.
So.
I mean, because each person we hire has to keep up with the party. Like they have to follow the party and make sure they're not lying and cheating.
Yes.
Right. So how many employees could we actually hire? So we may have too much demand and not enough money and not enough people to actually do the game part.
But I'm also thinking too, like if we decided to do like the big games on the weekends, throughout the week we could just have that area be a D&D area with tables set up. So if you wanted to come just play a casual game of D&D, you could. Now that would be during the week, which I don't know, people have time for that, of course. But
shit.
It's an option.
I'm showing up, bro. These people don't do anything else. I'm telling you, they got time. You don't know how many people. That's why, like, if you ever stay home from work and you leave at your house at 12 p.m., you're like, what are these people doing?
Yeah.
None of them work.
Oh.
They're
really
just
what it is.
Like, go outside. Go outside. We've been outside at like 12 p.m. and we're always like, do these people not work?
No.
Because what's shift 7 to 3, 9 a.m. to 5. So the rest of the people shouldn't make up for all this damn traffic that's out here. And what else solution can you make? They have to not be working, or at least working remotely, at the very least. So if you're working remotely, I shouldn't say this, but you should have more time, because we all know that the jobs hold you for 8 hours for no reason. When you can finish your work in 3. Yeah. Anyway, all the places I've worked, I can finish my work in 3 hours, and I'm stuck there. Exactly.
Like I'm gonna be working during the break, and I'm gonna be working 40 hours a week.
Like what you're paying for is not the hours. It's really what the work is, which is the way I do it. Like you get a salary each month, right? Whether you work 40 hours. Yeah. Because nothing should be going over 40 hours. So if you work 16 hours at career marketing all month, you get paid the full 40. As long as the work is done correctly. Yeah. Because that is ridiculous to me. Like, we'll force you to sit 8 hours and be like, you have to earn your pay. I'm just sitting down talking to you. That's always been the dumbest thing to me.
The manager always come over to talk to you.
Right.
Go work.
Go work. But you walk in there, they playing solitaire. that's when I became supervisor. I'm like, this is what you've been
We were
doing this
playing
whole time.
solitaire.
This old guy was, I kid you not, with no shame. I walk into the supervisor office, right? As another supervisor, you should think you get nervous or something, flinch. This man playing solitaire is like, hey Corey, don't say hey to me. I just saw you come out and yell at your workers, and you come in here and play solitaire, bro. I couldn't believe it. So I was like, from then on, I always had this philosophy, but I was like, from then on, I can't allow someone like that in my company,
Yeah.
and I can't allow these rules to continue.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to hold people once they and then hold over their heads. You don't do 8 hours, you don't get 8 hours of pay.
Right.
But they work hard. They worked hard to finish their work. You should reward them from that, not punish them for not sitting in your damn
Yeah.
factory all day.
They're also more motivated to do more too.
Absolutely, based
Like
on
if they,
study.
yeah, if they finish their work and they could, if they wanted to, go home, right? But they're like, maybe I'll actually do a little bit of extra work and get caught up for the next couple weeks. So now the entire system is more efficient because everybody's caught up maybe a couple weeks in advance, and you can just continue to plan for the next month, and the
Right.
next month, and the next month. It makes sense. People aren't exhausted. People aren't miserable and brain dead. And, it's also horrible to sit for that long. A lot of people don't get up until the lunch break.
Right.
Like, bro. Or they're standing up on their feet and they don't get to sit down until their lunch break.
Making your employees happy. I get it. It's not your job, but think about it from a business aspect. Do you know how much better a happy employee would do for you? I've met some people that were made happy in their job and will die for the business owner. I don't think he's worth it, but
I know what you're talking about.
these people will fall on the spear for him,
Yeah.
and that's because he gives them unlimited PTO, and he's like, look, you finish your work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you finish your work hard. You finish your work early, and you work hard. Go home, enjoy it, be with your family, and come into work on time the next day. And they do that,
Yeah.
right? That's the way it comes, and that company has boomed because of that.
Also, let's just, aside from like a business aspect, it's just decent human. It's just human decency.
Oh, don't start saying that. They definitely
I
won't
know.
do it.
Oh, I know. It's really hard for people to treat people like they want to be treated.
Yep.
Do unto others as you want, whatever it is.
Do unto others what you want done unto others for you for what?
But yeah, just treat. It's like what you wouldn't want to do that. That's why you see some supervisors and managers doing nothing.
Yep.
It's because they know that it doesn't have to be like that.
Them too. It's like, let these managers go.
Go.
Like, I've been working as a supervisor for too long, and here's what I can say: it's more stressful than people think. Because if you don't show up, there's no replacement for you.
Right.
Most employees, they can not show up, and that's part of the benefit of being an employee is that you can show up, and there's plenty of other people to take that spot for that day. And no matter how much retail or fast food people pressure you, they'll make it. They'll make it through the night. Okay. But if you're working as a supervisor, it's usually one of you. And if you don't show up, the door don't open, and these people don't get any time off. This is why they get paid a little extra. It's because there's only one of them managing, more than just managing all of you guys. They have to show up sick, hurt, damaged, people dead, people in their life dead. They have to show up to work. If not, the other supervisors have to work 12, 16-hour shifts to cover that person. And a person with a conscience don't want other people to do that. So that's part of. Now, I'm not saying, have sympathy for your supervisor. I just want you to understand this is what they have to go through. That's a little different than what you have to do. And personally, it's tough. It's very tough having to show up every day. I got to roll my damn car to work. Well, I got to make it, So it's crazy. It's crazy the system that we have set. So what I like, though, a lot of my generation and a little bit above my generation, let's just say our generation, are starting businesses with those type of values in mind. It's like, I'm not gonna kill my workers. I'm not even gonna think of them as workers.
They're not workers. They're not employees.
They're not labor.
Oh, I can't. There's so many people that call.
Yeah, I used to work with a woman that called them laborers.
Like, that's so weird. That's just gross sounding. It's like, no, you come and I want us to get to know each other. Like, I want us to be friends. You know, like, it's not, that's cool if you don't want to. You do your job, you go home, that's all right. But it's like, I'm not your authority figure.
Right.
Like, if I give you responsibility, that's a pretty big responsibility, and you say, I think that this would be better. Okay, do it.
Right.
That's all right. That's cool.
That's the whole point of humans working together.
Yeah.
Is one person may think it's a little better, so that's why they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, humans came to understand, like, look, I don't want to live in this cave no more. There's probably something I can do better. They started building fences, and then one person's like, why are we building wooden fences? Let's make this into brick. And then they just kept doing that. That's how you got to where you are, right? So if you get to a situation like today, where you don't allow people to do that, you can't go any further. Okay, so in your company, if you want to go further, it's going to be a collaborative effort from everybody. So that means don't pay yourself the damn most.
Bro,
You shouldn't be
showing
50% higher.
in a new Corvette.
New Corvettes, new Ferraris, new Lambos. Look, you shouldn't be that much higher than everyone else. Running a company is very difficult. You take on all the risk, yes. But there's a reason why you hire people. You need to remember that. I'm not saying that you should be right at the level of their pay, because you are taking on more risk. You are doing a lot of work differently than what they're doing. But at the same time, should you be so far ahead of them that they have a rust bucket going to work? Should they be so far behind that they're driving a rust bucket if you have the money to spend on them? Should you pull up next to them with a Porsche while they have a Pontiac that's been falling apart for years?
Yeah,
I really don't think so.
Should you have somebody that's getting people fired be able to buy a new house because they're getting paid so much more than the people who have been there for 5+ years?
Now, I have to take something off of him. Here's what I will say. He was pressured by the operations manager.
That's true.
He came in and said, look, she told me I got to get control of labor. Okay, that's her word. Laborers is where it comes from. Now, I blame him from adopting it, but I was thinking about this guy, and Jordan Peterson said, look, you guys don't understand. If you were in Nazi Germany, you would be an Auschwitz guard. Okay, you would. Do you want to be a Jew, or do you want to be the one not dying? He's like, most humans, like them, you have to understand you're a human too. You don't want to die. There's going to be humans like me that get fired or killed anyway because I say what I got to say. That's exactly what happened to me. I said what I had to say, and they threw me out. So he was in that situation where he was getting divorced. She was trying to take him from everything. He maxed out all his credit cards. Now, I'm not giving him an excuse to act the way he did, because you should be a better human all the time. But I can't expect people to be like me, like you always tell me. All right, so if I can't expect that, then I don't. I understand where he was coming from. He came from, losing everything, getting divorced, to a situation where he had all this pressure to get things under control, even though it had been under control already. The operations manager was undermining the CEO, so it's not like he could go tell the CEO. Right, exactly. So he was under this sandwich of pressure, and then you had some young black kid be like, "Hey, I see the BS you trying to do. Stop. You got to get that guy out the way," which was me. And then then the person that was next to me that was there for 5 years, I'll get into how they did this woman so wrong. I may not have liked her, but you don't do someone like this. So she was gonna kiss her no matter what, because she was longing to be accepted and understood and thanked in this company, and she didn't get it. And she's been there for 5 years, and she literally did all the work for years to get this warehouse situation up and going and keeping in control. She's been there for one of the longest times of anyone there, and they fired her a week after. Now they say she quit. She
Yeah.
most definitely got fired.
Yeah.
She most definitely got fired. They had multiple conversations with her, and she got fired. Now, granted, she did it to herself. She was not the best coworker to work with. She never
Mm-hmm.
showed up. But at the same time, all the systems they were using to run was made from her.
Mm-hmm.
She never got any credit for that. Um,
Yeah.
so that's why I say, yeah, he's one of the worst managers I've ever seen in my life. And yes, from my detriment, he was able to buy a house and get a new car and basically not even go to work, go to the gym, come back to work, go to
Right.
lunch, then go home. All that came off both of our detriments. But I also want to say I understand.
Yeah.
I understand the initial point. Now, what you're doing now, that's up to you. That's on your conscience, right? That's on you. Everyone has to move on. But at the same time, man, it was able to teach me how to be much better. I'd
Okay.
say that it was a very tough time for me
Yeah.
at that point. I almost lost everything. I almost lost my house. Almost lost my car. Almost lost you for a while. Not because of breaking up, but I was gonna have to do something, and it wasn't gonna be
Oh.
here in Richmond.
Yeah, that's true.
So I almost lost it all. Almost lost my damn business because I was
Yeah.
just falling behind all that stress. They were stressing me out constantly, always threatening to fire me. And then be like, "Nah, we not gonna actually fire you," and then fire me one day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was weird. It's very weird. But I just wanted to say that I understood him.
That's fair. I should apologize. I don't excuse being a bad person.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it is important to remember that we're all human. And humans make choices that are in their best interest.
Yep.
So,
I was in the way of both of their best interests. Now let's not even get into the project manager. He wanted me gone because I was like, hey, he sucks at his job.
because he
He
did.
did suck.
I mean, honestly, there's no excuses here.
Yeah, there's
He
nothing I can
really
say
was
about him.
just,
He's
that was
terrible.
pathetic.
Look, I'll give you this. There was one week where his football team, who's always sucked, lost. Okay, he went to the Super Bowl, neglected his work for that week, came back, was in a bad mood, and the most anyone said, except for me, I'll get to what I said, was that, look, I know we know that he's behind. I almost said his name. We know that he's behind on work, but he's just been in a bad mood. His team just lost. And I was like, he is a grown ass man he's a VP. He's a vice president of a successful multi-million dollar company, and we're giving him the excuse because his football team fucking lost. What? So that's what I said. That is completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
I'm running one of your campaigns right now. I need you to get back into space or give me your campaign and your money. By the way, because if I'm gonna run it,
Yeah.
then I need that money, brother.
Mm-hmm.
So look, get your head. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. It is football. You've never been good enough to play. I don't know why you care. You're an art student. I don't know why you care. We line up right now on the football field. I tear you up. All right. So if you can't beat me, shut up and do your work. Oh, it aggravates me to this very day. I could not believe that was accepted in the workplace. But that's what's going on in this company, and that was okay. That was okay.
That was okay.
That was okay. But me telling you not to fire people because you want to is not. That's toxic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
To say, hey, we shouldn't be firing people because you want to. Your money's guaranteed, so quit harassing them. I got in trouble for that. But for Nick being mad at everyone else,
Name drop.
I name dropped him. Forget it. He'd be mad at everyone else for his football team, bro. What? That's the craziest thing I ever heard. And then apologized and was like, look, I know I've been a butt this week. And everyone was like, oh, it's okay. You haven't been a butt. I was like, yeah, you have. Yeah, I told him he has. He's been terrible all week. He has. You need to tell people that, right? And I didn't say it in front of everybody else. That's a difference too. All right, that's the difference between being toxic and being real. I pulled him to the side. I was like, look, I don't think this is acceptable, man. I'm running one of your campaigns. You've got to get in the game,
Yeah.
and you're over all the other project managers. This is not working. Me from the lowest level shouldn't be telling the highest level that's unacceptable.
No, because I've been in the same situation.
I know you have.
Not me telling a staff member to pick up the damn room. I'm holding this baby that's projectile vomiting every 5 minutes. The poor thing couldn't keep anything down. This infant, a new hire. Lord, help her.
Lord help her.
Help her.
Explain the hectic situation that this was,
Oh,
and in your position, which is why this is ridiculous.
So I'm a student, right? I'm a student. I essentially my job where I work, the CDO. I classroom support, right? If they need somebody to come and cover lunch, or if they just need some help, I go in and do that. I also do administrative stuff. Well, we had a new hire, and they'd been there for a couple weeks at this point. Relatively familiar with the routine. I mean, in that kind of situation, even if you've never worked with children before, or you've never been a teacher in a classroom, you have to like get on it, right? Like there's a routine, so it's easy to pick up. You just really have to get to know the kids. Well, I come into work one day, and I was told that I needed to go help in the infant room, and I'm like, okay. And I got the sense that something was wrong. Something was real wrong. Everybody just seemed so stressed out, and I'm like, okay. So I go in there because they were like, hey, go ask the teacher if she needs some help. I walk in, bro. The teacher is in a chair, rocking the baby that threw up everywhere. And there's two kids that are crying because one of them bit the other person. And then there's another one that
wait, both kids are crying, even though one bit the other.
Yes. So, and then there's another baby that was there, standing there crying because he gets real attached to some of the teachers. And then the other teacher that was in there helping was trying to clean up the room, you know, like. And I look at the teacher and I say, would you like some? You need some help? She says, yes, please. Now, meanwhile, the new hire is standing to the side, just standing there, literally just standing there. I'm like, okay.
Just existing.
Just a warm body. So I go back to the office. I grab my necessities, like my water bottle, my keys, all that. And I go back in there. I grab the baby so that way the teacher can take care of the other two. And it took, I'd say, almost an hour because it was almost lunchtime at that point. So probably 30, 45 minutes to get everything calmed down. The kids were eating. I was holding this baby, dealing with it. And, bro, it was something else. It was something else. Like eventually, I was changing a diaper, and one of the teachers, because we have pods, right? So you can like walk right across. Teacher on the other side, I love her so much. She don't play nothing. She don't play that kind of crap. She looks in and says, "Tell her to go to her lunch. Go to lunch." And the teacher in my pod was like, "Why?" And she was like, "'Cause she's just sitting there. Tell her to go to lunch." So she did. She left. Not like we needed her anyway. I'm like, oh God. And no, it was like that the entire time. I kid you not. I'm sitting in the chair rocking because it's after lunch is nap time. And she's just sitting there. She's sitting there on her phone, which you're not supposed to be. The only time we get on our phone is to do documentation.
Right.
And she's sitting there on the phone texting. Hello? Bro, I've been here not even like 6 months. Not even 6 months. I've been there for like 5 months, counting my internship. I had to tell her to pick up the room because there's toys everywhere. I was like, can you pick up the room? While I'm holding this baby that's puked on me 5 times already.
Ew.
So yeah, that was not fun. Now here's the thing about childcare: is you either got it or you don't. And I get it. Like it's new. Working with kids is difficult. Working with parents is difficult. Being a teacher is difficult. But it doesn't matter what age group you're in. At the very least, be like, what can I do to help?
Right.
There was zero initiative.
That's the main problem.
Like, I'm a student. You are being paid to do the actual job. Come on. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. But you know what's funny is even the director, like, because my professor, you know, we talk about it all the time. And, you know, they're like, students actually are not allowed to be in the classroom alone with kids. There has to be a lead teacher or someone that's CPR certified at all times, right? We're not allowed to do it for liability issues. And this is a Berea decision. It's not the CDL decision. Because, believe it or not, there are students who have more experience working with the kids than new hires do. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, a lot of times, they trust us to do it more than a new hire. And we can't do anything about that. We can't be alone in the room with the kids.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, that was that situation. Different fields, but the same situation. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. It aggravates me so much. I had to calm down. I started thinking
It is
about.
aggravating.
I started thinking about the whole situation all over again, and it doesn't make any sense how quickly. I wouldn't say quickly, but how they built this cult-like mentality. It's gonna be because I uploaded a video on YouTube. Don't go watch it. Don't go watch it. But it was about what are marketing skills. My next video is gonna be about famine mentality. I don't know if it's gonna be about that, or I want to talk about how not to build a workplace culture.
Like that.
Yeah, because the sad part is I understood what the CEO was trying to do, and it just didn't go that way. It wasn't executed well. So now you built this semi-toxic cult-like mentality.
Toxic. It wasn't semi-toxic. It was.
It was pretty toxic. It was like if you pushed toxic positivity into a workplace culture. That's what it was, because if you say anything outside of, I'll tell you a situation. This is how bad it was. A few years ago, when they were working in the office, the person that I work with, the other warehouse coordinator, was working there by herself. She had been working there by herself in this situation until I got there.
Right.
So they were working in the office before we actually got a real warehouse. And they used to bring their dogs to the office. One of the people who don't even work there anymore, dogs bit her. Bit her. Okay? Bit her. I want to say that 3 times so people understand. As she goes, ow, what the fuck? Whose dog is this?
Right.
As anyone would. And then she got pulled to the side and said, hey, we don't talk like that. Exactly.
We don't talk like that? Whose dog is this?
Who the fuck dog bit me? We don't talk like this. I have so many stories I haven't told you from this place. So she's telling me this story. I'm like, what? This is what I'm talking about. Toxic positivity.
Bro, that's not.
This is where it comes from, right? Trying to be positive to everyone in there. This dog bit somebody. It should not be in the office.
It shouldn't be in the office in the first place.
Yeah, people has got to stop this thing and bring your pets to the office. It's just not great. No. It's not great no matter where I've seen it. I understand you're trying to be new age, blah, blah, blah. Look, you're there to work. Your dog should not be there. Yeah, it's biting motherfuckers, bro.
Right.
It's, the
not
dog.
Pet is nice.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. And you know what? I probably would have fired you, to be honest with you. You bring that ratchet thing in my office and it bites one of my. Because think about it, it's a liability, too.
It is a liability.
Because she could have sued them. Mm-hmm. Especially after having a talk like that.
Oh, I would.
You would have.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should have been sued. They got very lucky because that's like year 3 of the company. It could have been done just like that. But that's why I said they did her dirty, because 5 years in, she just gets let go. She got bit by this damn dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 years ago.
Like she's a child.
Exactly. So that's why I say it was toxic positivity. It was built like this, on this foundation, where you can't even speak out about things that should be spoke out about. Right. You can't be biting people. Dogs can't be biting people in the office or in general, but especially in the office.
I don't blame the dog. I
I
don't
mean,
blame. I don't
knowing
blame
this
the dog.
person, I don't blame the dog either. He probably smells something.
I mean, it also could just be very un. Doesn't like strangers.
Well, yeah,
Like,
so don't bring that
why are you
dog to
bringing your
work.
dog to work around strangers?
If you know your dog, because if your dog just don't just randomly
Right.
bite people for the first time in their life, it's
Right.
definitely bit someone
I'd never
before.
bring Ponko to the office.
Absolutely
He would
not.
have broke every damn
Well, think
blind
about it.
in the place.
He'd pee on somebody's table. That'd be a big problem. Our cat.
He
That's what
would.
we're talking about.
Or, well, the cat we used to have.
Yeah, cat we used to have, right?
Yeah.
So it's like bringing an animal like that into the office. First of all, he would have meowed the whole way there.
Oh, no one would have been able to.
Exactly. He meows far too much, but that's sensible. This person brought their biting ass dog into the office. That's not sensible. And as far as I know, they didn't get a talk
No, of
about
course
bringing
not.
a dog because it's
Of course not.
positive.
Yeah.
You want to be positive, right? So that's the type of place. So I don't know if I want to make a video on how to build your workplace culture,
You should.
family mentality. I'm talking about next, right? I'll make
Yeah.
them all, but I don't know if I should make that one first, that one, or what I learned from a toxic work culture next. I don't know which one I want to do. I don't know yet.
Can lump it all in one video. It's different talk points.
I can't lump in family mentality with that because they weren't that. I will give them that. That's a totally different toxic topic to talk about. But let's.
Can we wrap up, please?
I was just about to say, let's wrap this sucker up. Thank you guys for watching the Traveling Businessman, sponsored by Crowd Marketing, and soon to be the Nook Candle Company. Is that what it's called?
Something like that.
Something like that. And watch out for our tavern in 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. It might be sooner than that if I get tired enough of living this life. So, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye. Thank you.